of your dreams, the car that you really want to buy, and now you have to go and find the finance in order to get it. So there's two types of finance we're going to be looking at. The first one we're looking at today is something called flat rate loans. Now, flat rate loans are really just simple interest rate loans. And they're a simple interest, a loan that's charged simple interest, which is calculated on the total amount borrowed. The interest rate, the term of the loan, and the repayment amount are usually fixed. So I've got a couple of questions just showing this, and I'm hoping that you're going to find no trouble with this because it's kind of just a revision of the work we've already done before on simple interest. So if we have a look at this first question, Jen borrows $12,000, so we're going to highlight the important words, at flat rate of 8.5%, that's the interest rate, and she gets to repay the loan plus interest over 3 years. It says calculate the total amount that Jen would repay on this loan. Now the first thing that I want to highlight is this word flat rate, which simply means simple interest. So anytime you see that, this is the word this is the thing you're going to be thinking about, simple interest. So because we're thinking about simple interest, the first thing you're going to write down is the simple interest formula, I equals PRN, where P is the principal. That is the amount that we're borrowing, which in this case is $12,000. R is my interest rate, which is 8.5%, so I'm just going to write that over 100, makes life easier. And N is my time period, which is 3 years. So this is in years per annum, and this is in years, so I don't need to do anything else. Now I can just substitute into my formula. I've got $12,000 times 8.5 over 100. Multiply that by 3, and we can pick up our calculators, and our calculators will give us an answer of, that is $3,060. Now that is just the interest. The question is wanting me to give the total amount that Jen is to repay on this loan. So you need to remember, girls, that when you are paying back a loan, you need to pay back what you borrowed plus any interest. So the total to repay has to be the amount you borrowed. I'm going to write this out, plus interest. So the amount we borrowed was $12,000 to buy the car, and the amount of interest was $3,060. So all up, what you owe this financial company is $15,060. And that's that. So let's have a look at the next question then. Sophie borrows $15,000 to buy a car. This is to be repaid over 4 years at $425 per month. And we need to calculate the flat rate of interest that Sophie has been charged. Now, flat rate of interest in this case is talking about R, my interest rate, which has to be a percentage. So let's have a look at what I have here. Flat rates also meaning I'm using my simple interest formula, I equals PRN. So my principal, I know that's the amount I'm borrowing, which is $15,000. I know my time periods, that's 4 years. I don't know my interest rate because that's what I'm trying to find out. So the other thing I'm probably going to need, because I know P, I'm trying to find R, I know N, so I need to find interest. And that's where this last part of the question comes into it, $425 per month. So if we think about it logically, if I have to repay $425 every month, we know there's 12 months in a year, and I have to repay this over 4 years, isn't this going to be the total that I must repay? If I think about it, the total amount I'm going to repay is each month 425 times 12 times 4. And that amount that I get is $20,400. Now that's the total amount I have to repay. But I was only borrowing $15,000. So the difference between the two must be my interest. Because I have to repay $20,400. What I have left over from the $15,000 that I actually borrowed has to be the interest, because remember, you have to pay back the principal plus the interest, which is what we did in the question above. So what I work out that to be, can I not speak, is $5,400. So now once I've done that, I can now easily finish the question. I equals PRN. My interest, I, is $5,400. My principal, I know, is $15,000 because it's up here. Now my rate, I don't know, but I know I always write my rate over 100, so I'm just going to put it over 100 again, and I'm going to times it by 4 because we've got 4 years. Now in your calculators, I would like you to do this side first. I would like you to do 15,000. This line means divide. Divide by 100 and times by 4. And your calculator will give you the answer of 600. And I can put the R next to it, and I've got 5,400. And this is a simple equation I can solve. This is 600 times R. The sign between the 600 and the R is times. So I'm going to divide both sides by 600. So that cancels. And if we work that out on our calculators, we get R equals 9%. And I'm going to write that per annum because we know that our interest rates get written with a P.A. at the end of them. So the rate of interest that Sophie has been charged is 9% per annum. And one last question. And here we go. Let's put everything together. So we get our highlighters out. Olivia purchased a second-hand car for $15,000 with the following terms. She has to pay a deposit of 25%, with the balance being repaid over 4 years at 9% per annum. And there's the key word, flat interest, which we know is simple interest now. And it's going to be paid back in equal monthly instalments. And it says, first of all, to calculate the deposit. So this is what normally happens. If you want to take something home, you have to pay some money first, which is your deposit. So the deposit in this case is 25%. So that's 25 over 100 of the amount borrowed, which is $15,000. And if we pop that into our calculators, what we end up with is we get $3,750, and that's the money that you have to pay before you can take your car away. So part B, once you've paid a deposit, what you then are doing is you're actually borrowing the rest of the money. So the rest of the money must be the amount that you started with, $15,000, minus $3,750. So the balance owing is my $15,000, as I said, minus $3,750. And if we work that one out, we get $11,250. And that is the balance that I'm now owing the financial company. So part C says the interest on the loan. So this amount here, the $11,250, is really the loan. So I equals PRN, and the loan, which is the amount I'm borrowing, is always my principal. So my principal is $11,250. My interest rate from the question is 9%, which is 9 over 100. And my time period is 4 years, so we're putting 4 in. And then we can work this one out. And when we put that in our calculators, we get $4,050. So that's how much interest I'm going to pay. So that brings us then to the final question, part D, the total monthly repayments. Well, we need to think about the total that I have to repay. So like the previous questions, the total I have to repay is always the amount I borrowed, which is here, $11,250, plus my interest, which is $4,050. And what I end up with is I end up with $15,300 is the amount that I'm actually having to pay back. Now, if you think about it, we have to pay some money back every month for 4 years. So every month for 4 years, there's 12 months in a year, and it's over 4 years. So 12 fours are, there's 48 months I have to pay this back. So if we think about it, I've got 15,300, and I'm going to divide this by 48, and this will give me my monthly repayments. Now if we think about this in terms of real world, we're not going to have any problems with this. So if I do that, what I end up with is an answer of $318.75 that I have to pay back every single month. Nice and simple. So there's one more question I popped in there, and it was just so that we could revise our work on converting something from weeks into monthly repayments. So a Honda Accord is advertised with a repayment of $36 per week. Convert this to a monthly repayment. So I put this in here to remind you that when we have something that is per week, and I'll put down monthly repayment here, is that we can't just multiply by 4, because there really isn't exactly 4 weeks in a month. So if you can remember back to what we did earlier, that would be 36 times 52, because there are 52 weeks in a year, and then I would divide that answer by 12. And this has just been placed in here as a memory jogger for you. So I hope you're not going to have any problems with this work. If you do, you know where to find me.